everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you my wrap up for the 24-hour Manga Love Readathon. This was a 24-hour readathon hosted by Shay over at Shay Geeks Out. I will link her down in the description box below. It was a readathon that was themed around manga that had romantic love. And so I haven't done a manga readathon in a really long time. I keep meaning to participate in some, but I just can't seem to carve out the time to do it. So I made it a point to sit down and read some manga for this readathon, and I'm really happy I did. I had a really great time interacting with other manga readers on Instagram and seeing what they were all reading. So I thought I would wrap up the titles that I read for the readathon for you. I read 7 volumes of manga. 2 were continuing from a series that I have been reading. 2 were from a duology that I had picked up. 1 was a standalone. 1 was a beginning of a new series that I started to read, and 1 was a reread of a series that I had read before. So let's just jump into it. I first started off the day by reading 2 volumes of LDK. I read volumes 11 and 12. These are by Ayu Watanabe, and this follows this couple, Aoi, who is the girl, and Shu Sei, who is the male. And at the beginning of this series, circumstances happen where they end up having to live in the same apartment together. Both of them live away from their parents and are on their own, and yeah, something happens and they end up having to share an apartment. So I'm really enjoying this series. I raved about it in the past. I think I had read like 7 volumes of it in one go sometime last year. But these were my most recently purchased volumes. I had a few issues with some of the things that happened in volume 11. So that took away from my enjoyment of it. But volume 12 was enjoyable. And so back to what I enjoyed most about this series. Aoi's dad really cracks me up. And he makes an appearance, I think, in volume 12. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this series, and I ended up giving volume 11 3 stars, and volume 12 4 stars. So then I continued the day and I read volumes 1 and 2 of Ultima Mania. This is a duology and is complete in these 2 volumes. This follows Yuzuki, who is this girl right here in the middle, and she is working for an Ultima gaming company. So they create these Ultimate games, and I had to ask my daughter to explain to me what an Ultimate game was, and she basically told me that it is a visual novel. It's kind of like choose your own adventure novels, if you're familiar with that, except it's in a game form and it doesn't have as many possible endings. But anyway, Yuzuki, she is an avid player of these types of games, so becoming an intern at a company like this is a dream come true for her. And it goes through how she learns how to interact with the voice actors and how the ins and outs of the business works, and into creating her own Ultimate game. And so I thought this duology was really interesting in that respect. However, I did have issues with some things in both of these volumes, actually. And I don't quite know that it qualified for the readathon, because even though when I looked it up before reading it, it is classified as partially romantic, I didn't find that there was any romance in these two volumes. There were hints at it, but nothing really substantial. Anyway, I did enjoy reading these two volumes, and I think I gave both of these 3 stars. And Ultima Mania is by Tsugasa Urino. Then I read Wanted by Matsuri Hino. You probably know her best for her series Vampire Knight. This is a standalone manga that is pirate based. This one follows, I can't remember her name. I think, she goes by a shorter name during most of this series, Arto, I think. And anyway, that's her right there. When she is younger, she witnesses the nephew of the governor being kidnapped by pirates, and as she grows older, she tries to find him. So on her quest to finding him, she disguises herself as a man and becomes a hand on a pirate ship. And so this follows her adventures trying to find the governor's nephew, because he was her first love. And I thought the stories were really cute. Very like Pirates of the Caribbean-esque, with a hint of Princess Bride, I guess. But there is also a bonus story in the back that's not related to these two characters or the stories or any of the characters in this compilation of stories. And there were also notes by the mangaka in the margins, which I found really interesting. It gave a little insight on each of the characters and maybe what inspired her to create the character. I ended up giving this volume 3 stars. And then I moved into Jamin Son by Ichigo Takano. This is the first volume. And this one follows this character, Shimana. And she is kind of having a hard at-home life. Her mom has passed away, her dad has remarried, and they now have a new child. So she has a half-brother who's still a baby. And she kind of doesn't know where she fits in anymore. And she feels unloved. She feels like her dad doesn't love her as much as his new child, and so she runs away from home. As she is running away from home, she stumbles over, literally, a guy in the street. He's lying down in the street, and he asks her to help him get back into his house, and that he was kicked out of his house by his roommates. And he kind of picks up on the fact that she's running away from home because she's got her suitcase type bag with her. And he's like, are you looking for a place to stay? And she's like, well, yeah, I am. And so he offers her a place to stay with a few conditions. The first is to help him get back in his house. He needs a key, so for her to find the key. The second is to have a dream, and the third is to fall in love. And so she moves into this house, and not only does he live there as the landlord, but there are 2 other guys that go to her school who also live there. And she kind of is like finding her way by herself. She makes friends with these 2 guys, where one of them she kind of knew of beforehand and the other she didn't really. but they become fast friends, and the landlord kind of helps her deal with her feelings about her home life. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think that the situation was dealt with very well. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this whole living arrangement works out and how she grows as a character. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. I do have 4 more volumes, but I kind of feel like I want to pick up the rest of it before I continue. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And then I finished out the night with the first volume of The Gentleman's Alliance Cross by Arina Tanemura. This is a reread for me. Arina Tanemura is one of my favorite illustrators. Her artwork, I just adore it. But I had read this one a very, very long time ago. So long that I didn't really remember everything that happened. Like, I know the general plot, but this one follows Heine, and she is adopted into the family that she's currently living with, and she goes to this prestigious high school where only affluent children go. But of course, there's still levels of wealth, so they're kind of divided between gold, silver, and bronze. Heine is a bronze, so she's at the lowest part of the social status, I guess you would say. So even though the family that she's been adopted into is still wealthy, she's not as wealthy as, say, the silver classmates, or the one gold classmate who happens to be the richest from the richest family. And she's kind of had a secret love of this one gold classmate since she was small, and he is they call him the emperor. He's like the president of the student council. Heine doesn't really have the best reputation. She was kind of a troublemaker in her younger years because of her love of this guy. She's kind of tried to turn herself around, but this reputation still follows her. And so something happens during the course of this volume, and she becomes the emperor's bodyguard. And so she gets a place on the student council. She's the only bronze member of the student council, which is kind of amazing in that fact, because usually only students from the silver echelons are chosen for the student council. And so, yeah, now she's the bodyguard of the emperor, and we'll see how that plays out for her and her secret love for this guy. But I did really enjoy this reread. I didn't remember a lot of the specifics of what had happened, but I did remember some. And this is a series that I had really enjoyed when I read it through the first time. And I didn't own it when I read it the first time, but I do own the whole series now, and I haven't reread it since I've owned it. So I really enjoyed this reread. I look forward to continuing it and seeing what I thought. Just pure enjoyment. I didn't have any issues with the things that had happened. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I look forward to continuing the rest of this series hopefully soon. So that's all for the volumes that I read during the readathon. Here they are all together. I had a really great time. I met a lot of new people. I'm kind of hoping that we have another 24-hour readathon that's horror manga or like scarier manga based, because yeah, I had a really great time. And that's more of the type of manga my daughter reads, so she didn't join me on this one because she doesn't read this type of manga. But if we have a horror manga or a scary manga type read along in October, hint hint, I had a really great time and I would totally do it again. So thanks, Shay, for hosting this 24-hour Manga Love Readathon, and I look forward to the next one. If you've read any of these titles, please let me know, or if you're interested in any of these titles, I'd like to hear about it. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you're all doing great, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.